here is Glenn Greenwald just eviscerating Bill Maher. It's 2 minutes long, but as you can see, it's worth all 2 minutes. There's a lot in there.
Lots of religions, not just Islam, produce violence. It was our government that kept Mubarak in power, just like we've done across the entire Muslim world. And it's amazing for you to say that, well, look at all these Muslims. The minute you give them a little bit of freedom, they go wild and they start being all violent. How can you be a citizen of the United States, the country that has generated more violence and militarism in the world over the last 5 or 6 decades, and say, look at those people over there, they are incredibly violent? We play a significant role in what has been happening in the Middle East because we've been interfering and dominating that region in order to have access to the oil.
I wasn't talking about violence. I was talking about theocracy. That doesn't happen here.
No, well, okay.
Bill Maher's ability to, now, Glenn Greenwald doesn't let him, but Bill Maher's ability to dodge the facts that have just been thrown at him is pretty epic. As you'll see through this clip, Bill Maher is quite good at shifting the goalposts, shifting the conversation away from the thing he was just eviscerated on. And so he says, oh, no, Glenn Greenwald just detailed how America is the #1 perpetrator of violence, not Islamic countries. And Bill Maher, rather than address that, rather than go, wow, good point, rather than go, oh, that's interesting that America has committed so much breathtaking violence, like millions of people, according to Brown University Cost of War, 4.5 to 6 million people just in the global war on terror. Like, he avoids all that and says, no, I meant theocracy. Okay, well, actually, he supports Israel, which is a theocratic nation. But anyway.
That doesn't happen here. But at the same time, Iran isn't invading lots of other countries and occupying them for a decade, nor are fundamentalist Muslim countries the way the United States is. So these things are interlinked because we are continuously interfering in that part of the world. And so
right. So if you talk about a number killed, even though Iran will execute people and, has beheaded people for things that I'm against the death penalty, but has beheaded people for things that I absolutely do not feel they should be punished at all for. Like, yes, that is absolutely true. Same with Saudi Arabia. But if you look at number of people killed by these countries, by Iran, by Saudi Arabia, and compare that to the millions upon millions killed by the United States over the past 20 years, it is no comparison. If it were a bar graph, the others wouldn't even register, all right? You would wonder why we didn't put the bars on the graph for the others compared to the United States, because the line down at the bottom would be so itty bitty you couldn't even see it. You need a goddamn microscope. So the idea that like, oh, well, theocracy is so much more violent. Really? The United States is the king of violence over the past 20, 40, I don't know how many years you want to go back.
So to say
really, it's all our fault.
It's not.
So then he does that. That's the next thing that Bill Maher does is Glenn Greenwald is throwing fact after fact after fact at him. And he switches it to, is it all our fault? How about you address anything he's said? How about that? The whole, is it all our fault? Well, you've just moved the goalposts from, oh, Islam is uniquely violent. That was the conversation. And now you've lost that conversation. So rather than address what's supposed to been said, you move the goalpost to, is it all our fault? Is it all our fault, Glenn? Well, no, nothing's all anything. That's a fake argument. It's a fake argument to get everyone confused as to what the hell's being talked about. Nothing is anyone's fault. Like, it's a way to dodge the discussion.
All our fault, but when you send your military for 6 straight decades into other countries to bomb them, kill their children and women and innocent men, prop up dictators, you take responsibility for your actions and say, to the extent that region,
that religion goes back 1,000 years before our revolution. So I don't think we can take all the blame.
I don't think.
What the hell are you talking about? Glenn is talking about the past 50 years, which was the conversation. And he furthermore said, no, you don't take all the blame. But so Bill now wants to, first of all, he shifted it to, is it all our fault? Let's make it all or nothing, because then I get to pretend it's not all our fault. And then let's shift the goalpost from right now to 1,000 years ago. It's just, he is the king of, I'm going to completely change this discussion to something it wasn't so that I can try and get out of it.
I think we should take a lot of it. And there's lots of bodies and corpses that have been piled up in the name of Christianity and Judaism as well.
Which is a slight understatement. There's lots of bodies that have been piled up in the name of Christianity or Judaism. Christianity, dude, how many people did Christianity kill during the Crusades over the past many thousands of years? Holy, literally.
Not recently. Not recently. Recently.
How about that? What do you think, folks? Have the Jews or and by the way, I'm Jewish, but have the Jews and the Christians killed anyone recently? Has there been any violence connected to Jewish or Christian nations? Does the United States, many of our ruling elite, claim to be a Christian nation? Did George Bush act like he was on a destiny from Jesus to go bomb Iraq? Is Israel committing genocide right now? I know this was taped before October 7th, but even pre-October 7th, how much killing did Israel do of Palestinians? How about the violence of holding them hostage, which Israel had thousands of Palestinians hostage before October 7th? No, none of it's been done recently. That's right, Bill Maher.
Have you heard of the occupation of the West Bank and Gaza for the last 50 years, motivated in part by extremist views of Judaism, or the wars in Europe, or the fact that there were generals in the United States saying we have to go and invade and destroy Iraq, a country of 26 million people, because our God is bigger? Lots of religions, not just Islam, produce violence.
Well, if I could just make one quick point about Egypt.
That silly liberal view that all religions are alike because it makes you feel good.
No, it makes you feel good to say our side is better than people over there are
feel good
primitive
to
and
put a
violent.
crown on your head and say, I'm a good person. How do I prove that?
You get to ignore the responsibility that your own government has for the violence and instability in the world by saying, look, it's that primitive religion over there that's...
And then he does it again. Bill Maher does it again, right? I can't actually contend with, refute, address everything, like the actual facts that are being spouted by Glenn Greenwald about how much of a hypocrite, how much of a pathetic hypocrite shill I am. And so instead, I will shift it to some, either move the goalposts or, oh, that's a silly liberal idea that makes you feel good. Really? Prove that, Bill Maher, that Christians and Jews have not done any violence over the past, that Israel doesn't do any violence over the past 50 years, yeah? Have you heard of the Nakba? Have you heard of, the Great March of Return, which happened around the same time as this clip, or a year or two before? Where they were just picking off innocent people in Gaza. No, how about the bombing that goes on of Gaza just regularly pre-October 7th? Have you heard of any of that? No. It's a silly liberal idea. Silly liberal idea that makes you feel good. Really, Bill Maher, is it?